You know, God that wants us to go out and evangelize the world. But in some ways, He wants us to be separate. And especially in the Old Testament time, God demanded separation. And there was a reason for it. When they went into the land of Canaan, many of the people were diseased with diseases. They had staph infection, they had venereal diseases, all kinds of stuff. And you'll see some of the laws referring to that. In chapter number 2 of Judges in the Old Testament. Now the angel of the Lord came up from Gilgal to Bochim, and he said, now we're studying dreams, visions, and hypnosis in the Bible, and appearances, and this is a theophany, basically. I brought you out from Egypt and led you into the land. Now we're talking about the angel of the Lord here, we're talking about Jehovah. Messenger, angel means messenger, the messenger of Jehovah. Which I sworn to your fathers, I said, I will never break my covenant with you. Now this covenant, at that time, was the Abrahamic covenant right here. Right here. Now we're living here in this period of time under the law. But now Moses is gone, Joshua is gone, and now God is going to raise up, He's going to raise up judges, and He's going to appear to these judges. He's going to call them out in dreams. He's going to do different ways. He's going to deal with them. He's going to deal with them in hypnosis, that God strikes them into a dream world and shows them things like He did to Daniel and Ezekiel, Isaiah, different ones. I'll never break my covenant with you. I'll never break the unconditional covenant. The unconditional covenant is the Abrahamic covenant, but God made a covenant with Israel that if they followed Him, He would bless them. If they didn't, He'd curse them. And as for you, you shall make no covenant with the inhabitants of this land. Separation. You shall tear down their altars, but you have not obeyed me. And what is this you have done? In Judges, the 17th chapter, go over there, see if I can find it. And in those days there was no king in Israel, and every man did that which was right in his own eyes. God didn't want that. God gave them Deuteronomy, the second law, so they could remember what to do. Now, Moses and Joshua are gone, and God's going to deal with them in a different way. This is a different type of a dispensation, so to speak. You make no covenant with the inhabitants of this land. You shall tear down their altars. That's their places of worship. And you shall drive them out. Now, some of these people stayed in the land. Uriah the Hittite. These different people, you know, the Hittites were really bad people. That means uncivilized. That means barbarians. But Uriah the Hittite was David's bodyguard later on. Some of the people stayed here. They converted into Judaism at this time. But you have not obeyed me, and what is this that you have done? Therefore I also said, I will drive them out before you, but you shall become as thorns, they shall become as thorns in your side, and their God shall be a snare to you, they shall be a trap to you. Their God shall be a thorn to you. Not only were they full of diseases, and I can guarantee Hittite wasn't, Uriah the Hittite wasn't. He was a great man of God, and the Bible gives him a place in honor. Of course, he was married to Bathsheba, you know, and David married Bathsheba. He committed adultery with her, and then he married her, and the child that was the product of that adultery died. But yet God raised up Solomon from her womb. Forgiveness, see? Forgiveness. And about that time the angel of the Lord spoke these words to the sons of Israel. Now, Here we have Jehovah and the angel of the Lord speaking, and they're hearing him. That the people lifted up their voices and wept. So that they named the place Jehoiakim. There they sacrificed to the Lord. Jehoiakim means weepers, that weep. If they'd only listened to the Lord, they wouldn't have had to weep, would they? They wouldn't have had to be corrected. And so they named the place Jehoiakim, the weeping ones, or weepers, and sacrificed to the Lord. And when Joshua had dismissed the people, the sons of Israel went each to his own inheritance to possess the land. And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders who survived Joshua, who had seen the great work of the Lord which he had done for Israel. Then Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110 years old. And they buried him in the territory of his inheritance in Timnath-Heres, in the hill country of Ephraim, north of the Mount Gaash. And all the generation who gathered to their fathers, there arose another generation after them who did not know the Lord, nor yet the work which he had done for Israel. God demanded that they be separate from these heathens in the land. The heathens in the land, we had Ruth the Moabitess, became a great believer of God. We had the prostitute there in Jericho. She believed. Rahab the prostitute. These people were saved. Her family was saved. They believed. And they were not infected with these poisons and these diseases like the others were. The sons of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and served Baals. Baal actually means Lord. Baal means Lord. Now sometimes in the Bible the Lord is called Baal. But the Baals that they're serving here are pagan gods. They are demons. Demon worship. And they forsook the Lord, the God of their fathers, who had brought them out of the land of Egypt, and they followed other gods from among the gods of the peoples who were around them, and they bowed themselves down to them, and they provoked the Lord to anger. God said, don't do it, and they did it. You know, in America today, I've seen this said, but I've experienced it too. You know, many of the schools, many of the colleges in the land are infiltrated by people that hate America. And they teach our children to hate America. And our grandchildren to hate America. And they become where they don't respect their parents at all. They don't think their parents know anything. You're stupid, you don't know anything. They have no respect for the parents at all. Unless you're some wild liberal. They forsook the Lord God of their fathers, who had brought them out of the land of Egypt, and they followed other gods, and provoked the Lord to anger. They forsook the Lord and served Baal and the Asherites. The Asherites were a sexual gods. They were idolaters, but their form of worship was sex. They would go up into the temples and have sex with them. Now, go all the way back to Judah. Now, Judah was going away to his sons and to the sheep shearers, and they were going to shear sheep. Well, on the way there, Judah thought that he saw this temple prostitute, and she was in the land. And this temple prostitute was sitting out there, and she had herself veiled. All she does is uncover, pull her dress up, and sell her business. Well, Judah told he would pay her, but this was his daughter-in-law, that he didn't give a son to raise up seed. And if she didn't have children, she would be an old maid and just absolutely die of starvation, basically. And lack of care and support. And so she had sex with her father-in-law, and she conceived and had twins. But in the meanwhile, Judah, the people tell him, your daughter-in-law has become a harlot and in the land, and she has disgraced him. So he called her there, and he was going to burn her to death. He was going to burn her. He was going to... What they did is they'd get a rope and braid it together and then dip it in tar, or like kerosene and tar, stick it down their throat and light it on fire and then burn them. That's what he was going to do to her. And he brought her before the judges, the elders, and he said, who did you have this affair with? And she said, the guy that has this ring and this belt and this staff. Because she made him give his staff, his ring, and his belt to her, and all of it had his identification on it and his genealogy on it. He said, you're more righteous than I am. And he raised this child as his children, but he never went with her again, never went into her again, he says. She was more righteous than he was. He broke his word with her. Tamar, the palm tree, the statuesque palm tree, a beautiful woman. Two of his children that she was married to, God killed them both. But through her would come the Messiah. Through this woman would come the Messiah, through the line of the tribe of Judah. And they went into the land, and that was a prostitute, that was a temple prostitute, just like these temple prostitutes here is talking about. The anger of the Lord was burned against Israel, and he gave them into the hands of plunderers, and they plundered them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies around them, so that they could no longer stand before their enemies. They had no strength anymore. God was with them before. One man, one Israelite could whip 1,000 men. But not now. One man could whip 1,000 Israelites. Wherever they went, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil. As the Lord had spoken, as the Lord had sworn to them, this is a conditional covenant. The Abrahamic covenant says that they're going to go over here and they're going to have this 1,000-year reign of earth, the kingdom of God on earth. That's an unconditional covenant. This is a conditional covenant. The hand of the Lord was against them for evil. And the Lord had sworn to them so as they were severely distressed, so the Lord raised up judges. Every now and then, they start crying to the Lord, oh Lord, save us, oh Lord, save us, we're sorry, we're sorry. And the Lord will raise up judges who delivered them from the hands of those who plundered them. And yet they did not listen to their judges, for they belayed the harlot after other gods, and bowed themselves down to them, and they turned aside quickly from the way in which their fathers had walked, in obeying the commandments of the Lord, so they did not do as their fathers did. You out there in your homes, you are admonished to raise up your children in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. And you're supposed to raise your children in home to show them right and wrong. And in your homes, you're supposed to show them, you know, parents, when a child is born, a parent is like a God to them. You're supposed to see righteousness and truth in them, and trust, and also discipline and love. If you don't have that, their family has totally failed you. And these, their fathers did, but now they've gone astray. And the Lord raised up judges for them, and the Lord was with the judges and delivered them from the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For the Lord was moved to pity by their groaning because of those who are oppressed and afflicted them. But it came about when the judge died that they would turn back and act more corruptly than their fathers did, in following other gods, to serve them and bow down to them, and they did not abandon the practices of their stubborn ways. Reminds us of us sometimes in this world, doesn't it? The Old Testament is given unto us, Paul said, for parables, that we might learn from their actions and their wicked ways. So the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, he said, because this nation has transgressed my covenant, which I commanded with their fathers, and have not listened to my voice. I shall no longer drive out before them any of the nations which Joshua left when he died. God fought their wars for them. He fought their battles for them, each battle. And the wars were always won when the Lord fought their battle, but now, no way. In order to test Israel by them, whether they will keep the way of the Lord to walk in it as their fathers did or did not. So the Lord allowed nations to remain, and not driving them out quickly. He did not give them into the hand of Joshua. Now these are the nations which the Lord left to test Israel by them. Experience in any of the wars of Canaan, the Canaanite, the land of Canaan. It's not the land of Philistine or Palestine, it's the land of Canaan. Only in order that the generations of the sons of Israel might be taught war, those who had not experienced it formerly. And these nations are the 5 lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites and the Sidonites, and the Hivites that lived in Mount Lebanon, and the Mount Baal Hermon, as far as Lebanon. And they were for the testing of Israel, to find out if they would obey his commandments of the Lord, which he had commanded their fathers through Moses. And the sons of Israel lived among the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And they took their daughters for themselves as wives, and they gave their own daughters for their sons, and served their gods. They didn't become evangelists, they become the mission field. The Bible commanded Israel to become evangelists, but they became the mission field. You're either missionaries or the mission field, one or the other. The sons of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and forgot the Lord and their God, and served Baal's lords and the Ashtaroth. Then the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he sold them in the hands of Cushan Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia. And the sons of Israel served Cush Rishathaim for 8 years. And when the sons of Israel cried to the Lord raised up a deliverer for the sons of Israel, to deliver them, Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. And here we have the Spirit of the Lord coming upon him. Dreams, visions, and hypnosis in the Bible. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him in a dream, in a hypnotic trance, or whatever. And he judged Israel. And he went out to war, and the Lord gave Cushan, king of Mesopotamia, into his hand, so that he prevailed over Cushan Rishathaim. And the land had rest for 40 years. And Othniel, the son of Kenaz, died. Now the sons of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord, so that the Lord strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel. Now the Moabs are cousins, you know, Moabites, water from the father. This is one of the, well, we have Ruth the Moabitess, and we have this Lot. These are Lot's children, with his daughters. They were children of incest. Moab, water from the father. Moab against Israel because they had done evil in the sight of the Lord. And he gathered him to himself sons of Ammon, and Amalek, and he went and defeated Israel, and they possessed the city of palm trees. The city of palm trees. And the sons of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, for 18 years. But when the sons of Israel cried to the Lord again listened, and raised up a deliverer, Ehud, the son of Gera, the Benjamite, a left-handed man. Benjamin was one of the sons from Jacob's wife, Rachel, that he loved. He only wanted her. He didn't want any of the elders. He wanted Rachel. He had 2 sons from Rachel. He had Joseph and Benjamin, son of the right hand. The sons of Israel sent tribute to him by Eglon, the king of Moab. And he had made himself a sword, which had 2 edges, a cubit in length, 18 inches long, just a short sword, and bound it on his right thigh under the cloak. And he presented tribute to Eglon the Moabite. Now Eglon was a very fat man. And it came about, when he had finished presenting the tribute, that they sent away the people who had carried the tribute. But he himself turned back from the idols at Gilgal and said, I have a secret message for you, O king. And he said, keep silence. And all who attended him left him. And he came to him while he was sitting alone on his cool roof chamber. And he had said, I have a message from God for you. And he rose from his seat, and he stretched out his left hand and took the sword from his right thigh and thrust it into his belly. That's the message. God's finished with you. The handle also went in after the blade, and the fat closed over the blade, for he could not draw out the sword out of his belly, and refuse came out. Then Ehud went out into the vestibule and shut the doors of the roof chamber to him, and he locked them. And when he had gone out, his servants came and looked, and behold, the doors of the roof chamber were locked. And he said, he is only relieving himself. He's up there in the bathroom. That's what it was. That was the bathroom, the place of the outhouse, so to speak, in the cool room. And they waited until they became anxious. And behold, he did not open the doors of the roof chamber, and therefore they took the key and opened them, and behold, their master had fallen to the floor dead. He had escaped while they were delaying, and he passed by the idols and escaped to Zerah. And it came about that when he had arrived, that they blew the horn in the hill country of Ephraim, and the sons of Israel went down with him, the hill country, and he was in front of them. And they said to him, pursue them, for the Lord has given your enemies and the Moabites into your hand. And so they went down after him and seized the fords and of Jordan opposite Moab, and did not allow anyone to cross. And they struck down at that time 10,000 Moabites. God made them strong. They repented, and God made them strong again. And he raised up a leader in a hypnotic trance. All robust and valiant men, no one escaped. And Moabite was subdued that day under the hand of Israel. And the land was undisturbed for 80 years. Everything's in multiples of 40. And after he came about, Shamgar, the son of Anak, struck down 600 Philistines with an ox goad, and he also saved Israel. God will protect you when you follow him. Now, also, sometimes bad things happen to good people. When bad things happen to you, always remember that the Lord is there with you, even through all the dark days. So you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he's with you. That's the way God is. These are lessons given to us for parables. Our Father, we send this message out for your honor, for your glory, for your people. Please feed them, nourish them, love them, and encourage them to love you because you first loved them. Father, please forgive me where I failed you. In Jesus' name I pray.